Hey guys, so this is the, well, we've had it over 1 year, but the 1 year review of my 48 volt battery system that I installed into our 30-foot bunkhouse travel trailer. And I think you're gonna be surprised. All right, so let's take a look. I'll show you where I have it set up. The boys' toys have plenty of room under here still, and I get good ventilation. And this is where I put it. So the one up top sucks in because that's where the air intake is up there, and the one on the bottom blows out because the fan and the inverter blows down, and that way we can cycle the air pretty easily. Let me get this opened up for you. Alright, we got that removed. And here we go. I got my two 48 volt 100 amp hour batteries here. They are the EG4 LL, which means they have twin fire suppression inside them, both. There's my EG4 inverter. Yes, it is time to clean the filters again. That is a monthly deal. And then I have my Victron Servo GX down there. And up top there I have my Victron Smart Shunt right here. And I use those because I have Victron solar chargers. And yeah, we're gonna clean this up and talk about the performance.
I ain't afraid of the dark, 'cause once you let the light in, you won't see the beautiful stars shining down from afar. No, I ain't afraid of the dark. I don't mind the rain, bringing life back. We can breathe again when dealing with the pain. No, I don't mind the rain. And ooh, that's the way it goes. Life will teach you what you need to know. And ooh, like a river flows, life will take you where you need to go. Getting old don't bother me, 'cause with eyes that's been through life, it's so much easier to see who I am and who I wanna be. No, getting old don't bother me. Truth can be a bitter pill, but it'll do you right and set you free the way a lie never will. Like climbing up the steepest hill. But truth can be a bitter pill. And ooh, that's the way it goes. Life will teach you what you need to know. And ooh, like the river flows, life will take you where you need to go. That's the way it goes. Life will teach you what you need to know. Ooh, like a river flows, life will take you where you need to go. And ooh,
So that's the basic monthly maintenance. Just vacuum out the filters, vacuum out the fans, vacuum up whatever's on the floor, because we do go to dusty environments. And yeah, I mean, it's super simple. Super simple. So this is a 48 volt, 3000 watt inverter. And this orange cable coming in here comes directly from the plug that's on the outside of the RV. So power pole plugs directly into my inverter and it hits that first. The battery bank is hung off of the inverter, and then the inverter goes straight to the current RV AC/DC panel and runs everything that way. The reason we did it that way, you'll see it in the last video, but I'll tell you again, is because this rig was never going to last us longer than 2 years. Our boys are growing way too fast and bed space is needed. And so I did it that way so I could quickly take this system out, change the cable tips so I even left the cable so I can plug the cable tip back in where it plugs into the RV input and right back into the AC panel, and nobody would ever know this was here. And I get to keep all the money I spent and all the components I spent on the batteries and inverter. I get to take that whole system with me. So I do build a lot of rigs that way, where you can take the system with you when you go to your next rig, whether it's an upgrade or a downgrade or going to an off-grid cabin. This rig, the batteries are going to come with us. The inverter, however, I might have another plan for that, because when we move up to a 50 amp RV, I believe I'm going to go to a different inverter. I'm probably going to go back to Victron, and I'll probably do their Quattro or their Multi Plus 2, their 48 volt, the 5000 watt one. And there'll be more on that later if we do that. But this system has been absolutely incredible. Oh, real quick. So it's been 3 weeks since we've mooch stocked at some family's property that had a 15 amp plug, and I turned the inverter down just like you can do with a Victron. I turned it down to only pull 12 amps so we didn't blow their circuitry, because the circuitry is kind of old where we were, and I wanted to make certain that we wouldn't blow a 15 amp circuit breaker. And so I set it down to 15. I was just looking at all my settings and it's still on 12 amps. And we've been back for 3 weeks and running the AC every single day for 24/7, because we use it on the dry function, which we have, which is basically air conditioner dehumidifier setting. We've been running the water heater, which pulls 1800 plus watts, the AC, all of that, and running fans, lights, charging stuff, laptops, and never once had an issue. And that's because the way I build systems is you'll never know the difference when you're plugged in and when you're not plugged in, unless the battery bank's dead. So our system is just picking the slack up and doing the work, and then overnight what's happening is doing all the work during the day, and then overnight when we're really not using anything, it's pulling the battery bank back up to 100, and that's what it's been doing for 3 weeks. That's what the system is designed to do. Where we currently are, it's using a power pole to do that. We do have solar, and that is putting in quite a bit, but we have it set to share priority between solar and power pole. That way, if we need to leave at a moment's notice, we're at 100%. So the way that I set our system up, and the way that I set up a lot of systems, is your battery bank and your inverter run your entire RV. And that way the power pole is just a power input to the system. Your solar is just an input to the system. Your wind is just an input to the solar system. Your DC to DC charger while you're towing is just an input to the system. And that's the way that I like it, because then your core system runs your RV, which means you don't have to unplug anything in your RV if you don't want to. In fact, we don't anymore when we're traveling. We leave everything running because we have a specialized 48 volt DC to DC system, and it puts in more than enough power to run everything in the RV, like the internet and all of that stuff that we just don't want to unplug, and run down the road while we're charging. So we always show up where we're going at 100% battery, and that is great for boondocking. But this system, absolutely incredible. I think we spent, what, right around $3,000 for the entire system?
Yeah,
$3,000 for the entire system. That includes the battery, that includes the tools, or the batteries, that includes the tools, that includes all the wiring. Is right at or just under $3,000 total for the entire system.
So, Jeremy, you should have done that from the beginning. So, Jeremy,
I had my hat backwards for part of it, but in here it's so you can see my face.
So Jeremy wanted me to hop on and kind of give my opinion of this system, I guess from the female perspective. I really like this system. It works exactly how Jeremy planned it to. We can still run everything we want to. There's been numerous times where Jeremy has unhooked the RV on travel days and I didn't even realize it. The AC was still running. I hadn't unplugged everything. This was at the beginning before we stopped unplugging everything because we don't need to anymore. Or we realize now for sure that we don't need to anymore. But yeah, I like that everything that I want to run can run. Of course, this is still a 30 amp RV. We did not rewire it to be 50 amp. So we are still picking and choosing. I can't run the pressure cooker and the microwave and the AC and
the water heater
all at the same time. Like that doesn't work. We are gonna overload our inverter if we choose to do that. Thankfully, Jeremy has set a new setting for me where the inverter beeps at me if I accidentally forget to turn off the water heater and use too much in some other area.
You basically, I set it up to where you get a 30-second warning before it'll pop a breaker.
Which has saved us. I no longer overload the inverter because I have an auditory reminder that, hey, you're doing something you're not supposed to be, which has been very helpful for me. Ever since he set that up, I have not overloaded the inverter because it's always me. I'm always really bad at forgetting to turn the water heater off and trying to run the microwave or the AC or something else at the same time.
Yeah, this is just a 30 amp rig with 3,000 watt inverter.
Yeah.
When we're off grid though, you get to run everything. You get to run the water heater runs, the microwave runs, the pressure cooker runs, everything runs.
It runs as if it's plugged into a 30 amp RV outlet. So if you want to know how it's going to act when it's not plugged in or anything like that, you just basically consider it as you are always plugged into a 30 amp outlet, and it'll work that way. So if if you're already having to, I don't use a hairdryer very often, but if you're already having to pay attention to when you use your hairdryer or something like that, you're still going to have to worry about that because it is still a 30 amp RV. But
you don't have to be plugged into a power pole to do it anymore.
Exactly.
So travel days for us have become super easy. We pull over in a rest area or on a outlook or on a overlook and use the microwave, turn the AC on, do whatever we want like we're plugged in, relax and have lunch for a little while and cool down, and then we get back in the car and take off and hit the road. And we absolutely love being able to use our rig whenever and wherever, however we want to. Everything is usable all the time and just not all together. But that's no different than regular RV living when you're hooked up to a power pole.
Another thing I really like about this system, and I think I heard you mention something about it a minute ago while you were down in the battery bay, is we can still use our RV fully off of only a 15 amp plug. We can use our RV fully completely off of a 15 amp plug because if I go over those 15 amps, it's going to pull from the batteries and still run as a 30 amp RV.
But yeah, being able to plug into a 15 amp plug at a boondocker's welcome or at a friend or family's house is not a big deal for us. We can run the AC and everything else the entire time we're there, and it'll never pull more than 15 amps off of their circuit, and we are more than good.
Yep.
And we love that. That's a big reason we love this system, is we're not eliminated from 15 amp campgrounds, 15 amp friends and families' houses. We're not eliminated from a lot of things because 15 amps is easy. And especially for this big of a rig and being able to run the AC and everything else, that's huge. That's huge, especially with Boondocker's Welcome, is we don't have to plug in at Boondocker's Welcome. It's just been super, super convenient for us to have the battery system. I love this system. Like I said, our next rig, we're going to take the 2 batteries and all the components with us. The inverter probably isn't going to make the jump because we're going to need a 50 amp. And I've already found a Multiplus 2 from Victron. It's a 48 volt, 5,000 watt. And I'll probably have 2 of those in our next rig. And then that will allow us to run everything together at the same time, which is going to be even better and even easier to do boondocking.
Yes.
So, because once you catch the boondocking bug, it's really, really tough to go back to not boondocking.
It is. This rig is not really, cannot boondock as long as we would like to.
This rig's limiting factor is the freshwater tank. We only have about 60 gallons. There's 6 of us, so you can imagine.
That doesn't stretch very far.
Cooking, doing dishes,
Bathroom.
drinking water, using the bathroom, and showering. 60 gallons doesn't last maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days if we stretch.
Yeah.
So that's our limiting factor in this rig. The next rig that we plan to move to, we should have about 220, maybe 260 gallons of fresh water, which will be a huge game changer for us. Our gray, we have 2 40-gallon grays and 1 40-gallon black tank. We can make that run for a week or more because we know how to boondock well. But the fresh water is tough, which is why we bought the clear source system, is we can actually pull out of lakes and puddles and streams and rivers with the system we have. So you're kind of making it work, but the freshwater tank is our limiting factor right now. But back to the battery bank. We love it. Absolutely love it. The system that we have in our RV will actually run people's houses. It's a good system. You can grid tie it, and there's tons of videos of people grid tying this system. This system we could pull out of here and put in a cabin, and the cabin would stay off grid forever. Super easy.
Yeah.
And it's not even that expensive. Less, right at or just under $3,000 for the wiring, the components, the everything. That's really good deal.
That doesn't include any solar though, so if you're wanting to do like a cabin type situation where you're off grid completely, you would have to add that expense on top of it.
You would have to add solar, which could be anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 in solar, depending on your location and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, but that's gonna do it for this update video on our 48 volt battery system. We love it, highly recommend it. Still doing the consulting to help other people figure out the size system they need and all the components, so we're still doing the consulting for that. If you're lucky enough to catch up to us on the road or randomly bump into us on the road, I'll probably help you out. So
He will. He doesn't know how to say no.
having
have to go in there.
Having a battery bank and a solar system is completely game changing the way that you can RV. And we know how valuable that is, and so we really enjoy helping other families and couples figure that out for themselves. So that's it for this video, guys. We're just going to cut the video mid-sentence like right now.